Sharon to do this presentation on Social Security, and that's because when Social Security has come, I felt sometimes like I left the room knowing less than when I came in, because it just became so complicated. I don't know if any of you felt that way, but it just felt like so much. I felt like we needed basics, like what is the terminology, not the history of SSI, but what does that even mean? And when you see a case that says going with someone to Social Security to renew their SSI. What does that mean? Is that really involved? Come to find out, it's really just going and they do it on the computer with them. But maybe they need moral support while they're there, or make sure they have the right paperwork or information with them. So hopefully that's what this session is to kind of demystify some of that terminology so that you feel more comfortable helping someone with Social Security cases. And of course, for all of us, there might be a little personal interest too, because of course Social Security affects all of us too. So I hand it over to Sharon. And Sharon, do you want questions as you go or at the end?
Questions as I go are fine. I want to kind of add a little disclaimer here at the beginning. I haven't actually worked for Social Security for many decades, but working in the Medicaid system at Aging and Disability Services in various counties, I did keep up with Social Security issues. So what I'm doing today is really kind of a high-level overview, and I hope the questions won't get us too deep into the weeds, because I probably won't be able to answer them, but I'm happy to try to answer them, and if I can't, I will get the answer for you. So to begin with, who knows how long somebody has to work in order to qualify for retirement benefits? So, without looking at the handout,
40 quarters? 40 quarters?
40 quarters, right? And that's about 10 years. And it used to be called a quarter of coverage. Now it's called a credit. And you earn a credit by earning, I think, $1,260, is that what I said on here? In a year, up to 4 credits that year. So it turns out to almost be the same as quarters of coverage, except that you can earn them all in 1 month. So you can get, if you earn $5,000 in a month, you can get all of your credits for the year. Now, when you came to retire, you wouldn't have a very big benefit because you wouldn't earn that much, but you would get a benefit if you worked those 10 years or 40 credits. Does anybody know how many years they use in determining the amount of your benefit? How many years do they use in that computation?
Just the next one. Last 3. Just the 10. Last 3.
Oh, no, it's 35 years. So they throw out the lowest years above 35. And this is nothing that you need to know to help clients. It's just, I was going to call these fun facts, and then I realized I was probably the only person that would think they were fun. So I called them fast facts. So if you were a car hop at A&W, as I was at age 17, and I probably made about $300 that year, they would definitely have thrown that year out in calculating my benefit, because I had at least 35 years that were much higher than that. The average benefit right now, again, that's nothing that you have to know, but it's about $1,340 for people that are retiring right now. And the highest and lowest benefits, the lowest right now is, I wish I could see this on here, $850. And that's for somebody that's retiring right now, like this month, last month. There are lots of benefits out there that are much lower than $850. There are people that retired earlier. In fact, I worked with a client last year who had a benefit of $390 That was it, for a whole life's worth of work. The highest benefit now is about $2,700. You pay Social Security taxes now on earnings at $118,500 a year. I don't know how many of us in the room ever hit that, but that's the amount right now.
Could you repeat that one?
Pardon?
Could you repeat that one?
118, you pay Social Security taxes now on $118,500 in earnings a year. And of course that goes up every year, or at least periodic. And then I included just some information about claim numbers. When you retire or when someone else is getting benefits on your account. Is there a lot of feedback on this?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Your Social Security becomes your claim number, and that's what appears on your Medicaid card, your Medicare card, excuse me, and letters that you might get from Social Security. So if there's an A after the number, that means it's a retirement benefit. If there's a B, it's a spousal benefit. A C is a child, a D is a widow, and then I included F, I think, which is a parent, which we'll talk about later. And an HA means that it's a disabled wage earner. So again, those are not things that you have to know in order to help clients. It's just little things that might come up that I thought would be fun for you to know. So we're actually going to talk about 5 different categories of Social Security. And we'll talk about retirement, survivor benefits, disability, supplemental security income, or SSI, and Medicare. And when we get to Medicare, it's not going to be the ins and outs of Medicare and what it pays for or doesn't pay for. We'll talk about who's eligible, when they need to apply, and what the open enrollment periods are that you might run into. And then at the end, we're going to talk about overpayments and garnishments, because those tend to be very common referrals that come to Elders in Action. So, starting out with retirement benefits. Can you do the next slide? Okay. Well, actually, before we talk about retirement benefits, there's a couple of definitions that I want to talk about. We'll refer to the wage earner. Social Security calls the person who's earned coverage under Social Security the wage earner, or WE. And also, we need to talk about full retirement age. For people retiring now, it's age 66. And that's for people born between 1943 and 1954. And then for people born in 1955 and later, it will increase 2 months each year, and then be age 67 for those born after 1960. So when we talk about full retirement age now, we're basically talking about age 66. You know, it was 65 for 60 or 70 years. Social Security began back in the 1930s. So this was the first time that Congress decided to raise it, and it will stay at 67 until or unless Congress decides to make it even higher. So if you're retiring right now and you're 66, you get your full benefits that are calculated from all those 35 years of work. And if you decide to retire early, you get a 25% reduction in your benefit. You can retire at any time between age 62 and 66, and the reduction is prorated then for that period of time. It's a risky proposition to get very involved in talking with clients about whether they should take their benefit early or not. Most of our clients, well, I won't say most, but many of our clients probably are desperate when they get to be 62 to have that income, and so they really don't have a decision to make. The decision is they need to take it because they need the income. If that's not the case, if they if Social Security is just going to be a a supplement to their other income, then they do need to make a decision about when's the best time to take it. So you can educate them about what the issues are related to that, but you shouldn't get into the position of actually helping them make the decision, because that affects the amount of money that they're going to get the rest of their life. The one thing that you should know for yourself and for them is that, yes, it's 25% less, but you also get it for 48 additional months. So it's a long time before you actually suffer any monetary loss by taking it early. Financial planners always tell you to wait as long as you can, and that's perfectly good advice. But people shouldn't beat up on themselves if they do take it early, because it's a long time before they actually lose any money by doing that. And it gets you almost up to the point, the average life expectancy, especially for men. So there's often not any loss of benefits. The spouse or other dependents receive roughly half of the wage earner's benefit amount. So if the wage earner is getting, let's say, $1,400 benefit, the wife or husband and any other dependents, which we'll talk about on the next slide, get about half of that. So the dependents that may be eligible, the spouse, a divorced spouse, if they've been married to the wage earner for at least 10 years, they may be eligible. There could be multiple divorced spouses if the person's had an interesting life. Minor children may be eligible, and that's students up to age 19 if they're students, and then disabled adult children, adults who may have been disabled before age 22 may also be eligible.
Can I ask a question about dependents? My children are teenagers, but they don't receive half of my benefit. I don't know if something is taken out first before they figure that. Is there something like Medicare or something that comes out of it?
How many children are receiving? Just two? Well, it should be close to half. There are family maximums.
They split it between two. They don't each get half.
They should each get half. But there are some family maximums that apply. So if you have a spouse that's also getting it, and at least two children, the family maximum may come into play, so the benefits might not be quite half. But it would be worth asking about.
And the other part of that is that my ex-wife lives in Brazil. She's Brazilian. And I didn't hear anything about being able to get my divorced wife benefits, which I would love to. Would there check with somebody?
You should check with Social Security if you were married more than 10 years. And by the way, divorce, most dependents, all dependents, except for the divorced wife, have to wait to apply until the wage earner has retired. But a divorced wife does not have to wait, because some people, as you know, would probably never retire in order to make sure that a previous wife. So if the wage earner is eligible to get benefits, then the divorced wife can go ahead and apply. It's true.
Does a divorced person need to choose between that benefit or their own?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they can't get both.
Right.
Can you repeat that, Sharon?
Yeah,
that's important.
Whether the divorced wife needs to choose between that benefit or her own.
Yes.
I say her because it's usually that way. They can only get one benefit, so they would get the higher of the two.
And you can go to the Social Security office and have them compare what I would get from him as well as what I would get from mine and determine which one's higher.
Exactly. Yeah.
Those people separately on the Social Security.
Yes.
That's still on, or is that?
I believe that ends the 1st of May. That file and suspend option, I think, is going away.
Can you repeat the questions? Because it's hard to hear.
Yeah. She asked about that, the system that's been in place for a couple of years where The wage earner can file benefits and then suspend. Again, I'm going to say he because it's usually that way. And the wife can go ahead and get wife's benefits even though the wage earner is not receiving them. And that whole option is going away 1st of May, I believe. But it is true that if you, the other thing I should have mentioned back when we were talking about reduced benefits is once you hit full retirement age, 66, if you don't take your benefit then and you leave it untouched, it will grow at 8% a year until you're age 70. And then, well, you don't have to take it at age 70, but there would be no value in not taking it because it ceases growing at that point. So if Social Security is truly a supplement and you have other assets and you can leave it there, there's no other way you're going to get 8% on your savings at this point. So.
Question. I was confused. Age 66 or age 67, 1960, is that January of 1960 when you were born in 1960? I was confused how it went from age 66 to age 67.
It's that age group in between.
So if you were born in, say,
If you were born in 1955, anytime in 1955, your full retirement age would be 66 and 2 months. In 56, it would be age 66 and 4 months.
so now if you were born, say, in 1960,
In 1950, then it's 66. 60.
I'm sorry,
That it's, yes, anytime, if you're born anytime in 1960 or later, then your full retirement age is 67.
it's 67. So that's like January 1st, 1960.
Yeah, anytime in that
Then
year.
it's age 67.
So, retirement benefits, you can apply online, you can apply by phone, you can go into the Social Security office. They would rather you didn't come in because it's easy to make an appointment and do a telephone interview or apply online. You don't need these things to apply, but at some point before your benefit is adjudicated, as they say, you need a birth certificate or other proof of age. Now that will go away eventually because people now have to show a birth certificate in order to get a Social Security card. So eventually all you'll have to do is prove your identity and you'll be able to, won't have to have a birth certificate or a proof of age. You need proof of U.S. citizenship or lawful alien status if you're not born in the United States. If you served in the military before 1968, you need your discharge papers because the military wasn't reporting earnings to Social Security until 1968. This too will go away because most people retiring now were too young to be in the military before 68, but it may come up still. And you need your W-2 for the previous year or your tax return if you're self-employed, especially early in the year because those earnings won't have been posted yet to your account. You can continue to work while getting Social Security. If you're at full retirement age, there are no restrictions. You can work as much as you want to, earn as much. And before full retirement age, you can earn $15,720 a year. And then after that, you lose $1 for every $2 that you earn. Yeah.
I wanted to mention something. I remember from an earlier talk from a representative of Social Security that appeared here. He pointed out that it's much more difficult now than it used to be in the past to actually make an appointment at a Social Security office. And it's because of the overwhelming number of retirees from the baby boomer generation. They're still working the same hours, but their office hours are down because they're in the back room processing all this stuff. So it makes a lot of sense if you can to encourage people to apply online.
Did everybody hear that? I pointed out that that the staff at Social Security are very busy, and their staff actually has decreased over the years, even though additional programs have been added. So it's really helpful and easier if you apply online or by telephone. The telephone call comes from Auburn, Washington, or some other place in the country, rather than actually go into the office. And frankly, going to the Social Security offices isn't really a growth experience anymore. With the security guards and the metal detectors and all of that sort of thing. So the more you can do without doing that, the better.
Yep. On taxes, I know Social Security typically is not taxed, but if you earn more than a certain amount beyond it, some part of Social Security or all of it gets taxed. You kind of get double jeopardy.
Right.
Yeah, it's about 85% gets taxed.
Except in at least the state taxes in Oregon.
States you have to invest.
Federally, you do, yes.
That includes IRA minimum deductions too. As income, it can kick you into taxable Social Security, which is kind of a counter to the whole idea of an IRA where you're getting it at a lower rate.
Right.
Taxes on the
Okay,
middle
moving on to
class.
survivor benefits. The wage earner passes away. The widow or widower receives 100% of what the wage earner's benefit would have been at full retirement age, which is a good deal. If the widow takes the benefit early, and she can take it as early as age 60. And again, I say she because it usually works that way. If you take it at age 60, it's reduced by 28.5%. Widow may be eligible at age 50 if they were disabled before or within 7 years of the wage earner's death. I know this is getting complicated. And if they're caring for a child under the age of 16, a child from that wage earner, then they could be eligible at any age for a smaller amount than the full benefit.
On the first point there, it said receives 100% of the wage earner benefit. What if the wage earner had taken a reduced benefit, say at 62 or 64? Does the survivor get still the full amount, or do they get the full amount of what the wage earner had been getting?
Whatever the wage earner has been getting. I guess I was assuming here that they hadn't drawn before they passed away. So other people who might be eligible are divorced widows or widowers, minor children, again, disabled adult children, and parents, which we don't think about very often, but if the parents were receiving at least half of their support from the wage earner, and the wage earner dies, then parents may be eligible. And I think if there's one parent, I think they get like 81% of what the wage earner would have received, and if there's two, they each get 75%. So I personally never run into parent benefit, but I think they must be out there. So an application for survivor benefits requires a death certificate, of course, and proof of the relationship to the wage earner, marriage certificate, and if there are, multiple marriages, which isn't that uncommon, you may have to produce marriage certificates and divorce certificates from all of them in order to get this sorted out.
So you mentioned a family maximum.
Pardon?
A family maximum. So, I mean, if somebody was to pay out to, like, they were married a couple times, they're currently married, and they have a child that's disabled, and they have a parent or whatever, that's a lot of, so how does that maximum have out?
Anytime you have more than about 3 people receiving, then there are some reductions because you will bump up against a family maximum, and that, I don't know exactly what the percentage is. I think it's about 180% of the wage earner's benefit becomes the family maximum.
And then do they reduce it between those 3
I believe so.
people, or?
I think so. So there's still a death benefit. It's been $255 since the beginning of time. Still $255, which, as you know, doesn't go very far in paying for a funeral nowadays. And nowadays, it's only payable to the surviving spouse that's living with the deceased at the time of death, or a spouse or a child eligible for benefits on the deceased person's account in the month of death. And I think the funeral directors often help people apply for this. But if not, it's methods is, simple enough to do. I don't know about online, but you can certainly do it by phone and or go into the Social Security office.
My ex that I was married for 20 years is deceased. We have a son. And that son gets benefits and rights
Probably, if he's old enough.
Well, it's 55, so
Well, when he's,
the son's.
yeah, not unless he's 60.
So, but if he lives to 60, we could apply for a benefit from his deceased father.
If he had no earnings of his own, yes, but otherwise his own benefit would probably be higher. We should talk. Yes.
So the partner dies in his 50s. The benefit, the Social Security bill for that person going to the survivor wife would not start until she was 67 or whatever.
She can draw,
Or could she draw after his death?
she can draw her full benefit if she's 66.
Right.
She can draw a reduced benefit at 60, or a further reduced benefit if she's 50 and disabled.
And then, and will that come automatically to her? Or will she have to also apply as the spouse of the deceased?
She would have to apply.
Okay.
Now, if she's already getting benefits, it's a pretty simple matter then to convert those two, because Social Security knows that the spouse has died, or they will know, and it's almost an automatic process for the widow's benefits, for the wife to convert to widow's benefits if she's already receiving.
Yeah, in this case, she thought that the $255 that she got was all that she was going to get. And so, yeah, the question was, she's still in her, she's in her early 60s now, and she's not anymore retiring, but she wondered if, in fact, she would get benefits from him. And, oh, my other question is, she's not received any statement about what those benefits are, even though he's been dead for 7 years or something.
Benefit statements don't get sent out anymore. You have to go under my Social Security website to get any information about the benefits that you might be entitled to.
I think we might need to cut down on the questions or we'll never get through all the great slides.
True. So, and I put the whole definition of disability up here just because it's so bureaucratic. It's the inability to engage in any substantial gainful activity by reason of any medically determinable physical or mental impairments which can be expected to result in death, or which lasted or can be expected to last for a continuous period of not less than 12 months. So it has to either be something that's going to kill you, or that you're at least going to have for 12 months, and it basically keeps you from doing the kind of work that you've been trained and have been able to do. Substantial gainful activity this year is defined as $1,130 a month. Wage earner must have worked 5 to 10 years before the onset of the disability. There's a 5-month waiting period after the onset of the disability before benefits can be paid. And that's even if you have a car accident and become a quadriplegic, and you know it's a permanent disability and it's going to be with you the rest of your life, you still have a 5-month waiting period before you can draw benefits. The average disability benefit right now is $1,165 per month. And assuming that the 5-month waiting period doesn't enter into this, you can go retroactive as much as 12 months from the time that you apply. So if you go into the Social Security office today and apply for disability benefits, and you say you've really been unable to work for, let's say, 3 years, and you say your date of onset is someplace around 2012 or 13, then it's possible that you could get benefits back 12 months before the date of your application. Decisions on disability are made by Disability Determination Services at DHS, and that's a different situation in every state. It's a contract with Social Security, and all disability claims are reviewed at least once every 7 years, and sometimes much more often. And that's certainly something that you can, as a personal advocate, that you can help with. It's a very daunting 14-page form that gets sent out, but I've just recently done one with a client, and the reason it's so long is because they want lots of information about every doctor and medical procedure that you've had done in the past year. And so they want, addresses and phone numbers and all of that for every medical professional. Now, nationwide, up to 70% of the initial claims are denied. Oregon might not be quite that bad, but it's pretty close. So there's an elaborate appeals process that happens. First thing that you do is ask for reconsideration, and that's something that a personal advocate can certainly help with. It's just a one-page form that says, I disagree with the decision that was made on that case, and I'd like for reconsideration. And that's just another claims person reviewing the same application that was submitted before to see if they agree with the decision. And frankly, they usually do, because it's the person sitting at the next desk, supervised by the same person, sitting through the same training. So it's unlikely that it's a different decision. So if it's still a denial after the reconsideration, then it's a hearing before an administrative law judge. And that's something else we can help them ask for, because again, it's just saying, I disagree with the reconsideration decision and I'd like a hearing. But beyond that, they really need an attorney for an administrative law hearing. And unfortunately, and there are attorneys out there that take these cases and don't charge the client anything unless they win the case, because they get some money from Social Security too to handle the case. But the bad thing is that it takes over a year to get a hearing scheduled, so the person is potentially without income for all of that time while they're waiting for this to happen. And then there are two levels of appeal beyond that, the Appeals Council and Federal Court Review, and both of those would require attorneys, but the attorney that was involved in the hearing will probably continue on with that client. And then we move to supplemental security income, which is funded by general tax revenues, not by Social Security taxes. So this is handled by the Social Security Administration, and it's a completely separate program. The person must be a U.S. citizen or a qualified alien, and I wouldn't dream of getting into all of those qualifications. They're all online if you ever decide you want to do some research on that. The current monthly benefit is $733 or $1,100 for a couple, and both of them meet the eligibility criteria. So to be eligible, you have to be 65 years old or older, or, and I should have put or in here, or totally or partially blind, or disabled using the same criteria as we just talked about for Social Security, except that there's no 5-month waiting period. And you have, excuse me, you have to have income of less than $753 a month and very limited resources. And the resources that you can have $2,000 or less in liquid assets, and those are things like cash, bank accounts, stocks, cash value of life insurance, real property, vehicles, etc. You can have a home if it's used as your primary residence. You can have a vehicle if it's needed for transportation, which makes me want to say, duh, who would have a vehicle if it wasn't needed for transportation? But you can have burial savings of up to $1,500 plus a burial plot, and you can have most household goods and personal effects. No one's going to question your household goods and personal effects unless you have Monets hanging in your family room, or a lot of expensive jewelry around.
Sharon, if we talk to somebody who says my income's only $450,
should we say, well, you should talk to Social Security about SSI? Because every once in a while that comes up.
Yes, well, I would ask them first what their resources might be.
Oh,
because
okay.
There are people that have money in the bank that would make them ineligible.
Okay.
Is this process as difficult as getting Social Security disability?
Pardon?
Is the
Is
process?
the process as difficult as Social Security disability? In other words, a year or so and so on and so
Yes,
forth?
absolutely. It has to be appealed. Exactly the same process. And then once you receive SSI, you're basically more or less automatically eligible for Medicaid. It requires an application, but it's prima facie evidence that you are eligible for Medicaid. Some states, handle the whole process, like California and their Medi-Cal program, but Oregon chose to leave the SSI piece with Social Security, and they handled the Medicaid piece.
Question on SSI.
Pardon?
That income restriction of $753, that includes any Social Security you're getting, I would guess.
Yes.
So if you make $1,100 Social Security, you're not eligible for SSI.
Right. Exactly. So you probably all know that when someone is eligible for Medicare when they turn 65, or after they've been receiving disability benefits for 2 years. And there's another category of people with renal failure and that kind of thing, but this is the basic 2 groups that are eligible. And there are 4 Medicare programs, Part A, which is hospital benefits, Part B, which is medical benefits, C, which is Medicare Advantage programs, and D, which is prescription drugs. And the Part B premium for most people this year is $104.90, but that's income-based, so people that have higher income pay higher premiums.
My mother is 92 years old. She's never taken anything, even an aspirin, and she still doesn't. She did not sign up at time of retirement for the prescription drug benefit. So now they are charging her $25 a month for not signing up for Part B because she wasn't told she had to. She just said, I don't take prescriptions.
I'm being charged $35.10 every month. That's kind of like that.
So it's something that is
On top of any premium.
right, exactly, and they just raised hers to 40.
Yeah, we raised mine $1. I was 34.
So is there? I guess there's nothing you can do about that.
Well, you can try a good cause kind of challenge to it. I don't know how successful you'd be, but it would be maybe worth a shot. So when, and this kind of leads into the next part of the discussion, when should a person apply for Medicare? Probably should say, when must a person apply for Medicare? You have an initial enrollment period that's 7 months, and that's 3 months before you turn 65, the month you turn 65, and 3 months after. If you miss that, or ignore it, or whatever, then, and don't take Medicare when you first have the opportunity to, then you do pay a penalty up to 10% a year for every year that you haven't taken it. There is a general enrollment period that happens every year from January 1 to March 31st. And you can apply, again, probably paying a penalty, but it's not effective until the following July. And then there are special enrollment periods that, for example, if you've been employed and you have group insurance through your employer, and your employer tells you not to apply for Medicare, or you don't apply for Medicare because you don't feel that you need to, you do have a chance to apply after you've left that employment. And then just to, because it's fun to give you more details, there are some other enrollment periods that happen too. There's from October 15th to December 7th, you can enroll in or change private supplemental plans, Medicare Advantage, or drug plans. And then between January 1st and February 14th, you can disenroll in Medicare Advantage and return to original Medicare. And then anytime you can enroll in a 5-star rated Advantage plan. I don't know about you guys, but I get correspondence from Kaiser every single week in the mail. And they're all over the television too, saying you can enroll, and that's because they're rated 5 stars. And so there's no open enrollment period. You can apply anytime. Anytime.
Question.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the reason for the penalty, it's an insurance. So the more people that are involved in it, it's spread out of more people. So those that get a lot of medical care, that's paid for by the people who are paying premiums, who are not getting that much medical care. And there's one other part to that, but I can't remember. So that's it. That's understandable.
Then there's one other program that Medicare operates, and that's an extra help program that provides additional help paying for prescription drugs. And that's for people with annual income of under $17,655 and combined assets under $13,640. And that excludes the home, vehicle, and life insurance. So, a little bit about overpayments. Social Security doesn't seem to understand, I'm sure they do, but it doesn't seem like they do, that people actually live on their Social Security, and that it isn't just a little extra that people have to go on with other income. So one of the ways that Social Security likes to get overpayments back is just to stop your benefits until the overpayment is paid. And that doesn't work for most people, but for a lot of people, because they're actually trying to live on their Social Security benefits. So you can always appeal those decisions. You may be able to negotiate a smaller reduction. You may be able to have the overpayment waived completely, if for financial hardship or for good cause. And when you're trying to negotiate a smaller reduction, Social Security likes to recover overpayments within 36 months. So with a large overpayment, they're not going to make too small a reduction in your monthly benefit because they want to make sure they get their money back in 36 months.
Well, an instance, one of my most successful cases in which I did almost nothing was a woman who'd been overpaid for 11 years. Her husband, her deceased husband's benefits kept coming, $65,000, and Social Security wrote it off, which I thought, wow.
Wow. Yeah, and there's a form, of course. It's a very daunting form because it's got lots of information about income and resources. But I think if you can show that the person is using all of their Social Security for their day-to-day living expenses, I think it often does get forgiven. So I think that's a great thing that personal advocates can get involved with. And then we also get a lot of referrals about garnishments. And Social Security benefits may be garnished only for 3 different kinds of situations. One is delinquent federal taxes. They can take up to 15% of the benefit. One is federally guaranteed student loans, where they can take up to 15%, but the benefit can't go lower than $750. And court-ordered child support and alimony, and that they can take a huge amount of the benefit. It varies by state and state laws, and whether there are other dependents that are being supported by the person, but they can take up to 65% of the person's Social Security benefit. And SSI benefits can never be garnished for any reason. And that's it. Yes.
So I just learned from you that we're no longer going to get paper statements. And so I actually, with my smartphone, I went onto the Social Security website and to enroll online so that I could get statements. And it was a very complex process. So just so you know, you might want to go online and do it yourself so that you can walk other people through it, because it required multiple steps and it didn't work very smoothly either. So
they're very concerned that that you establish your identity so they know for sure who's asking for the information. So yes, it is a lengthy process to get signed on, and heaven forbid that you later forget your password.
Because I just wrote mine down.
Because I've been there and just about can't get it back or change it. Yes.
I wanted to mention one thing about garnishment. If somebody is, one of your clients is really concerned about the garnishment of their Social Security income, it's probably the best idea is to have all that, those direct deposits go into a separate account. Because if you get a garnishment, you got to prove it's Social Security, and the bank then will, you know, put a hold on your account until you do that process, go through that process, which can take some time.
You know, it doesn't really matter because once that money's in the bank for 2 months, it's no longer Social Security, it's savings or checking. It doesn't, it will only be identified as Social Security for 2 months. So, and then it can be garnished. So if you have direct deposit and just letting that money sit there, again, most people use their Social Security, but if you don't, it's, after a while, it's no longer Social Security, it's just bank account. So,
I just wanted to let people know that we do have a bankruptcy lawyer who works with student loans, federal student loans. So if you talk to somebody, that might be good for them to talk to that lawyer.
One other security thing I ran up against, the person who's the beneficiary has to be the person to authorize talking to Social Security. They won't talk to the advocate without the person saying, yes, this is my person.
They will accept Elders in Action's release of information.
Yeah.
There's you may run into occasionally to a client who's, because of dementia or whatever, nobody else available to do this, where you can actually, there's a form where you can actually kind of take over the person's communication on a certain situation. And I don't think it's anything you should use very often or even at all, but it is possible to do that if the client signs that form saying that they want you to handle their Social Security business.
I've had kind of mixed responses. I think some of that is subjective based on who you happen to be talking to at Social Security, because I've had some who would recognize the release of information, some who wouldn't, some who would, oh, well, let me do a three-way call and we get the client on the phone at the same time. So it just depends on the friendliness of the person on the other end. It's very hard to predict.
I wanted to mention a cautionary thing. Working with my sister, she could qualify for SSI, but she was a no-show like 7 times in a row with her counselor in another state, and now she can't qualify at all. She's barred from actually so there's actually, there's a penalty for not going through with the process.
Yeah, they can get sticky about things like that. Is there anybody who hasn't been to the Social Security office in the last few years? It's very, very fun, especially the downtown Portland one with the 3 security guards and a metal detector. The ones in East Portland and Beaverton just have one friendly, semi-friendly security guard and no metal detectors, but it's kind of a big process downtown, so it's fun.
But sometimes it's good to go, right? I remember you saying that, Roy, right? That it's just good to go down and...
Sometimes, depending on the time, it's easier. You may wait 45 minutes, but if you make a phone call, I guarantee you're going to be an hour or so. So, it's crowded and it's like getting your driver's license if you ever did that, and the line. But it can be faster than trying to get through on a phone call.
And if you make an appointment, if you have an appointment, you do get to go in, like the downtown office, you get to go to the head of the line if you have an appointment, so that can be helpful too. I had an appointment last month for someone, and it was a 9 o'clock appointment, which is when they opened, but the security guard came out and said anybody who has an appointment can go in first, and then the other 20 of you that are out here on the sidewalk can go in later, so that was helpful. And they didn't make me take my shoes off, which is really good.
All of this information, does being a veteran do anything to change any of what we're doing?
No.
No, it's the same regardless.
You may get veterans benefits in addition. And what was that walk-in $30 written down back at the office, so if we see cases like that, we'll let you know. All right, well, I wanted to give a little time for a break. Thank you, Sharon, so much.